The Royal Rumble is the second biggest event of 2021, and it's going to be even bigger. During our Wrestling Insider pay-per-view watch-along is the former Raw main eventer himself. John Cena Sr. will be in studio live during the big event. We'll watch the Royal Rumble, take some questions, sign some autographs, and make this year's Royal Rumble as interactive as it can be without you being there in person. Get ready for John Cena Sr. live during the Royal Rumble, January 31st. Boston Wrestling Sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE NXT and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans, welcome to another installment of Wrestling Insider's Current Events, where it is a cold, flurry-filled afternoon here at MWF Studios, downtown Melrose, Massachusetts, in the zip code of Champion 02176. We are preparing for Cecil the Lion's sold-out LAN party, playing a game, I believe, called Winter Never Ends. If you are familiar, I should say, with the studio, the line as we speak is actually going from the front door of the studio down to Memorial Hall, where we our live in-ring events for the LAN party. We're very happy to have Matt Degnan back with us. Before we begin, I want to send out our condolences to both MWF associate Dave Carter and Brian Nobbs of the Nasty Boys, both of whom lost their fathers this week. We send out our best to both families during these very difficult times. I am here now on my 40th consecutive day at the studio since returning from sunny Florida. We're talking Christmas Eve, Christmas, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. I've been working hard 40 days straight for your enjoyment. And keep that in mind as you stare at the must-use Super Chat button, that gray little button under the chat during our episode premieres. Any denomination helps. As you can tell in the background, I am being serenaded by Larson's favorite, the FFM. Better known to some in the Boston sports MWF family as the French folk music, as we prepare to break down both WWE NXT and AEW from January the 27th, 2021. On Raw, for our review show this week, I was riding solo. Tonight, I'm very happy to have the man of mystery from southwestern Connecticut back with me. I think the review shows flow better that way, but that's just my opinion. I don't know if you heard my Raw review.
It felt kind of lonely, but I watched it
much
earlier.
like with the rest of my life, yeah.
I watched it earlier today because our Wi-Fi finally got fixed on Monday. They said the new box that they put in last week, it was actually like not working. So would have been better if they told me that earlier, but what are you going to do?
Have you listened to any FFM since the Wi-Fi kicked back in?
I actually probably should have.
It's very soothing. But I tell you this, I am not soothed right now. And this could make for a memorable episode, as I'm actually dueling right now with a former Boston Wrestling / WWE superstar right now. I'm ready to explode, but as usual, I'm trying to be my cool, calm, and collected self. But
I'm sure NXT and AEW will...
says, peace out, losing my number, my friend. Oh, you know what they throw? First, they want to throw the legal threats at old Marty. Old Marty hammers it out of the park with not a home run, but a grand slam, and then they cower. I love it. Oh, boy, brother. If you could feel my skin right now, it's what we'd call piping hot. Piping hot, almost like the pizzas that Angelo's establishment serves. Do they serve pizza there, or am I thinking of someone else or something else?
Well, it's called Franco's Pizza.
Well, all right, so I would hope they'd have pizza there. But before we get into the thick of things, fans, am I getting pissed off? Don't forget that we'll be hosting a live Royal Rumble pay-per-view watch-along party with special guest Mr. John Cena Sr. himself this Sunday night at 7 p.m. Should be a good time. Tune in on WWE Network. Cyber watch the pay-per-view with your friends here in Boston. Earlier in the afternoon, we're going to have a pay-per-view weekend special edition of Wrestling Insiders as TJP. TJ Perkins is back for a follow-up to his studio shoot interview last month before the TLC pay-per-view. Tonight at the top of the hour, I'll be joined by Marty Jannetty for a movie-length edition of Wrestling Insiders, Party with Marty. Marty discusses J.J. Dillon leaving the NWA as a manager to work in the office for WWF, injuries Marty sustained in WWF, into a coked-out superstar in WCW, Jane Fonda getting physical, the ex-wife of Ted Turner getting a little physical in WCW, a confrontation Marty had with a promoter in Austria that led to the police trying to get Marty out of the country. As we circle back to WWF 1989, Marty recalls a wild Haku bar fight, an issue the Barbarian had with an enhancement talent at a WWF TV taping, and more. If you enjoy Party with Marty, sit back and enjoy this one. I believe it's an hour and 40 minutes tonight of Marty. It is, it's certainly a party. I don't know if you recall that one from, I believe you were here that night at the studio.
His usually, it's almost like everybody. I don't know about John Cena Sr. because you're there in person with him.
Yeah.
But Tony and Marty, they like to kind of go off into their own world.
They do. They do.
We don't plan for them to go that long, but they kind of just go their own way, as the song says.
They create their own little GPS. Then tomorrow night after SmackDown, when the Thunderdome lights go out, the one on the top of his head goes on. John Cena Sr. is back with predictions on this weekend's Royal Rumble, the return of Goldberg, and more. And if you miss any of our 4 weekly in-studio Wrestling Insiders shoot interviews each week, join us. We're trying something new. Join us late night on Saturdays for our new Week in Review program that provides one-stop shopping with all of the interviews for the week. The fans that join me this weekend in kind of the test run of it, they seem to have a good time. We'll keep going with it as long as it's something that you enjoy. Sunday, before we go live with John Cena Sr. for the Rumble, again, we're going to have TJP back with us. I think that's really going to be an interesting interview. I thought the first one was fantastic. And as always, Tony will be back with us Tuesday at 10 o'clock for At Your House. And then we'll have another great superstar with us for Wrestling Insider Special Edition Wednesday night at 10 p.m. following NXT and AEW Dynamite. You never know who's going to pop up on Wrestling Insider Special Edition, including your good friend that was with us last night. 2 more live episodes to announce before we get going, folks. Tony Atlas is back during SmackDown Friday, February the 5th. And the rocker himself, Marty Jannetty, will be L-I-V-E live Friday night, February the 19th during SmackDown. A great way for you to interact with our hosts, get an autograph, say hello, and help us keep the lights on. I'm a big fan of the Wednesday night special edition program with the rotating guests, but I have to be honest in that we need fan support to keep it going past the episodes we already have taped, I believe, into March. We have new superstars that want to come in. We have legends that want to return. I'll work as hard as humanly possible to help make it happen. But you fine folks at home, are our tag team partner in making it happen. Again, how can you help? First of all, the free way, the easy way. Share the video across your social media. It is that Simple. It is what I ask of my partner in crime here on the show, Socko. Simply get on the Facebook and hit the share button right under where you see the video. Share it on wrestling Facebook groups to get some new eyeballs on what we're doing. If you're on YouTube, there's a share button. It sends the link to a variety of platforms at the same time. We're thrilled with the growth we've had compared to last year at this time, but I'm a very humble individual to say that I realize that there are millions and millions of current wrestling fans and even lapsed wrestling fans that have no idea we even exist and would likely love these shows if they came across them. So fans can help get the word out. Fans can help us grow and grow and grow and grow. Maybe we'll turn into the CNN of professional wrestling. We'll have 3 or 4 guests a night here at the studio. Wouldn't that be something? Imagine that. People think I'm out of my mind now, having that many guests patrolling in and out of this fine institution. The Patreon family continues to grow, where you get the early ad-free access to all of our weekly Wrestling Insider and Studio Shoot interview talk shows. You get access to the world-renowned Studio Shoot interview DVD library that's been seen by millions online, millions more on The Howard Stern Show, along with exclusive content. And again, you help keep professional wrestling legends working during the absolute worst of times right now during coronavirus over at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling, all for less than a cup of overpriced coffee at Starbucks. I think you'll love it if you're a diehard wrestling fans. Rules and regulations are different in every state, especially in Connecticut during these coronavirus times, but our eBay store, it's open 24/7 worldwide with some awesome rare wrestling merchandise for your wrestling man cave. Again, with each purchase, you get an on-air shout-out from Tony Atlas himself and help keep wrestling greats working. To me, that's what it's all about. The link can be found in the description box. Along with that, I pass the baton to the man along southwestern Connecticut's longest shoreline, Mr. Matt Degnan. Matt, you actually joined me for the long open this week, as I'm angry, I'm pissed.
I'm sure NXT and AEW will feel the brunt of it, but...
Well, if it was Saturday morning, you know how grumpy I can be during the Saturday morning review show, but at least this one is taped in the afternoon, and I have the FFM music playing behind me, so I'm a little bit more zen, but I'm very, 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 very angry to have my, what's the word I'm thinking about? To have my intentions insulted by someone that I was extremely good to over an issue 11 years ago. So, you know what? I almost feel like a cowboy. You know what? I got the saddle on, and I got the guns at the hips, and I'm ready to shoot, baby. But you know what? I don't want to go there yet. I want to be nice. I want to be kind. I want to talk great wrestling with great wrestling fans around the corner, around the world. And I'm looking forward to the land party, to be honest. But that's a different story for a different time. Which of these 2 fine programs are we going to discuss first, Prodigy?
NXT.
All right. I actually, for a rarity for me, I watched NXT live last night as opposed to watching it on replay.
That's funny because that's what I did too. I even said the same thing when I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch NXT because I'd rather have the fast forward for AEW.
Well, that wasn't the reason why I did it, but I was trying to mix it up a bit. But nonetheless, let's break down what was NXT from the Capitol Wrestling Center in beautiful, sunny Orlando, Florida.
NXT kicked off with a quarterfinals match in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. MSK defeated Killian Dane and Drake Maverick. I thought it was a good way to open up the show, and I'm glad Maverick took the pin as I expected. It wasn't a horrible match, but it was solid enough to open the night on a good note. But what did you think of the opening from the yellow and black brand? I know some people say gold, but it's not really gold.
Very happy with the result. I think Dane and Maverick are too much of a joke of a team. Maverick has no credibility in the eyes of most fans with the nonsense material he's been presented with to execute over the past few years. He's more of an anchor around the ankle of Killian Dane than he helps him. I like MSK, but you have to look at them as a cruiserweight tag team. I mean, those are 2 guys that are not big men, but it made for a pretty good matchup. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good open.
Next up on NXT, we saw a first-round match in the Women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, where Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez defeated Aaliyah and Jessie Camia. However they wanted, I believe they pronounced it a different way, Camia or something like that. But Kai and Gonzalez will face Kaden Carter and Casey Catanzaro next week in the semifinals of the tournament. I've never seen this Jessie girl before. I believe she's had a few appearances on NXT.
It was a big song in the 80s, Jessie's Girl.
I didn't wish to see her last night,
Yeah,
but
neither did I.
What did you think of the women's tag team?
You want to know my main thought was, again, why not use Robert Stone as Robbie E. as he was presented in TNA? As Robert Stone, he's boring, he's bland, he's lifeless. As Robbie E., he had a lot of color, he was interesting, he was a great heel that you wanted to see the babyface kick the hell out of. Almost similar to the role that DJZ finds himself in right now in NXT as Joaquin Wilde, however you pronounce it. All I could think of is, why is this boring tournament taking place while going head-to-head with AEW? I can't think of many fans that sat back and said, you know what, I really want the female Dusty Rhodes Classic Tag Team Tournament, just so we can say we had yet another boring women's first in WWE. Again, if WWE wanted to go what I feel is the proper route and create the WWE, or an all-women's promotion, an all-women's platform, I'd be all for something like this. But I think presenting this tournament the way they are right now, I think it takes away from the quality of the rest of the show. I was very anxious for this to end. I was tempted to change the channel.
Next up, Tyler Rust defeated, I wrote an unnamed jobber, but someone said on social media his name was Dante Rios, I believe. But I guess that's his name. It was a short enhancement match that, of course, didn't have much to it, but it did its job. I like Tyler Rust. I think I need to see a little more from him. But I think, as you say, there's something there with him. I don't know what you think of Tyler Rust, but I like him so far, but I just hope they don't. NXT usually does a good job in building them up, but sometimes when they get to the main roster, they lose their pizzazz and push a little bit. But what did you think of Tyler Rust grabbing another win?
I believe the gentleman he worked with is out of upstate New York under the name Daniel Garcia, and maybe they just gave him that name for the enhancement match. He had Tyler Rust. There's something missing there. I don't know if it's the look. Malcolm Bivens is the mouthpiece. He needs something, and I still think he needs something more. I hated the fact he had the female referee. I feel that takes away the credibility and the threat of danger from what the men are trying to do, as I think most civilized human beings realize that they're not going to have two men even accidentally strike a female referee in the middle of a heated physical competition. So I do not like that. I wish they would shy away from that and have the females officiate the female matches. The match itself was nice enhancement win for Rust.
We got another Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic quarterfinal match where grizzled young veterans defeated Kushida and Leon Ruff. Good matchup to bring us into the second hour of the show. After the match, Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory attacked Ruff and Kushida. Kushida and Ruff were saved by Dexter Lumis as he scared away Gargano and Theory. So it looks like Lumis is going to be the next challenger for Gargano's title. I guess that's kind of what they're building up, with Lumis kind of following him around. But then they've also been kind of teasing Kushida as a challenger as well. So maybe we get a triple threat match, but that would mean we would have two triple threat title matches going on in NXT right now, which I don't know if they want to go that route, but we'll find out. But what did you think of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic quarterfinal match?
I hate the name, the Grizzled Young Veterans. I think Leon Ruff would be fine if you didn't have Drake Maverick on the same roster. I don't know how many small, little, tiny guys trying to do the same gimmick you need. I love Kushida. You have Kushida kicking out of the Doomsday Device. Okay. You know, that's a problem across not just NXT or WWE, but all wrestling TV shows right now, where everybody wants to have these WrestleMania moment-like kickouts. There's a reason why the big kickouts at WrestleMania always get the big pop. It's the big event of the year, and it's been built up as something important. When you have these 2 3/4 kickouts, or I think Beth Phoenix tried to take the line from the mask guy in AEW saying 2.9, How many times can you see it before it becomes a shoulder shrug? And you expect it. When you expect it, it has absolutely zero value. Then what I found was even more ridiculous was they're attacked by the Way faction after the match, and they try and sell that little swinging DDT that Johnny Gargano did to Kushida is more devastating than the Doomsday device. I mean, come on. Johnny Gargano's this little 5'8", 5'7" guy doing his little swinging DDT, and that's going to be as devastating to Kushida as being hit with the Doomsday device by the grizzled young veterans. I think that lacked credibility. I think that lacked common sense, to be honest. Beth Phoenix she was wild. She sounded like she was constipated. She was so wound up during that, but I guess that's typical Beth. And then Dexter Lumis, he's hiding behind curtains. He's hiding behind barricades. He's almost like the boogeyman of NXT. So who knows who Gargano gets next? Will it be Kushida? Will it be Lumis? Will it be both? What is looming on the horizon, pun intended?
Toni Storm called out NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai, and she got her. Shirai says she will fight Storm, she'll fight her anywhere, and that she doesn't like her. The two women then brawled, and it was interrupted by Mercedes Martinez, who attacked Io Shirai from behind. Then the three women started brawling with each other. As I said before, it looks like we'll be getting a triple threat match soon for the NXT Women's title between Storm, Martinez, and Shirai. I think it has the possibility to be a good match, of course, but I don't know if you want to do a triple threat match between these three women and then one between Lumis, Kushida, and Gargano, unless they just do Lumis and Gargano. But what did you think of the three women brawling? I thought it was kind of all over the place and a little bit forced, but I think
it was, but it was about as good as you're going to get with the women is the way I look at it. That's about as good as they're going to be able to put out there. It was better than the 87 interviews that Mackenzie Mitchell did that all seemed forced and rehearsed and boring and so on and so forth. So I'd rather at least see three women with some talent out there that aren't green and rushed onto television too soon. I think all three are very good with Shirai, Storm, and Mercedes are probably the three best they have on that roster. You could throw in Rhea Ripley too. I think she's pretty good, but other than that, it is a lacking division in one man's opinion.
Oh, Ripley, she's supposed to be headed up soon, possibly this Sunday at the Rumble.
Well, then there you go. Oh, I have a feeling a lot of them are going to be in it, whether they're WWE bound or not.
Well, no,
because they don't have 30 women.
No, I'm saying as like an official move up, like
an official. I see.
Yeah. Bronson Reed defeated Isaiah Swerve Scott. I thought it was again a good co-main event, I guess you could say. I know you say it's not in their eyes, but if you look at the layout of the show, I thought the last two matches of the show were a good way to end it. The tag team main event and then this one before it. But what did you think of Reed and Scott?
I thought it was a great match. These are both guys that I would protect and I would push. I almost don't like the fact that they're having them have this little feud on free television. To me, it would be involved in some kind of a takeover or something bigger than a regular Wednesday night NXT show. I think Bronson Reed is someone that could be a player on the main roster. Swerve has the size thing going for or against him, depending upon how you want to look at it. I don't know if he could make as much of an impact on the main roster, but as far as what they're doing in NXT, I thought the match was excellent. Well, I don't know if I'd go as far as to say excellent, but I'd say great. I thought it was a great match. I really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed every match that Reed and Scott have had thus far. And I hope to see more of it in some way, shape, or form.
And they did really well with the time they were given, because it wasn't one of those 20-minute, masterpieces. It was maybe 10 to 15 minutes.
Certainly wasn't as long as Cecil's land party tonight.
No. In the main event of NXT, we saw NXT champion Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly defeat NXT Tag Team Champions Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. Thought it was a solid way to end the night with a good match. After the match, Pete Dunne, Oney Lorcan, and Danny Burch attacked Balor and O'Reilly, but they were saved by the rest of the Undisputed Era. At the end, they kind of teased Balor aligning with Undisputed Era as he kind of filled that final puzzle piece as he backed up into the middle of the ring. Then they went off the air as he exited the ring as he was looking at the rest of Undisputed Era. What happens with that? Who knows? We haven't seen Bobby Fish in a while. I don't know if that's because of COVID or another injury. I know Bobby's always dealing with injuries in his career. But I guess maybe Finn Balor joining Undisputed Era, that would kind of change it up a little bit. But, I mean, I've been saying for months that I'm kind of bored of Undisputed Era. I know they turned them face, but it kind of just seems like a revolving door with them in NXT. They don't really – it's almost like Tommaso Ciampa. You know, they haven't done much with him. But lately I've liked the pairing with Timothy Thatcher. But, I mean, especially lately they – turned Gargano heel, and it hasn't been good for him. I mean, you can get
disastrous.
You could just kind of tell that they don't really have anything left for, you know, Ciampa, Gargano. I mean, look at Ciampa, just all of 2020. How long was he actually in a wrestling ring? He was off for about like 9 months of 2020, not really doing anything. So, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with this new Undisputed Era? I don't know what else you can do with them. I mean, they've already done this whole thing with the group of Pete Dunne and company, so I don't know if they're going to kind of reinvent this whole feud and make it newer or what they're going to try to do with it, but we'll find out. What did you think of the main event of NXT?
I thought it was a very good main event. I like Balor and O'Reilly as a team here against the NXT Tag Team Champions. I was proud to see two Boston Wrestling MWF alumni in this match. I like that Pete Dunne got involved afterwards. I think he and Finn Balor can have some great championship matches. I think as the show went off the air, when Balor kind of slid out of the ring away from the three Undisputed Era members that made their way out, Balor could have a great championship match with any of the six other guys that were out there. I think that's why you have a great NXT champion in Finn Balor right now. But certainly, the selfish side of me would like to see more of Balor and O'Reilly. I really like their chemistry. I really like the two matches that they've had.
We'll go into our grades now of NXT. I thought it was a solid show. I gave it a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. I was kind of in between a 7 and an 8, but I thought there was nothing really on this show that was amazing, so I just kept it with the 7. But what did you think of NXT overall?
I tie with you again. I gave it 7 out of 10, a very strong 7 out of 10. Was there anything pay-per-view worthy on the show? Not exactly, but it was a very watchable 2 hours. It was well-paced. The only time, like I said, I was rolling my eyes and ready to change the channel was during this needless female Dusty Rhodes tag team tournament, where it's a company that has no female tag teams, which defies common sense to me, but you know what? Other than that, overall, it was a good show.
As we move into the break here, I believe, as you like to do on these...
Are there any news and notes, though? I do not want to talk over you.
No, there are no news and notes for the NXT side of things.
There will be no baseless accusations sent my way.
No.
All right, well, all right, fans, right now we're going to listen to a little FFM. We'll be back after this brief timeout after we relive a little WWE history. Let's go back in time to when maybe the product was a little more enjoyable on this day. Stand by. The World Wrestling Federation was live at Winnipeg Arena in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, Wednesday, January the 29th, 1992. In the opening contest, Tatanka beat Skinner. The Berserker with the win over Jim Brunzell. WWF Tag Team Champion Road Warrior Animal defeated Earthquake. This was changed from a tag team title match due to Hawk's drug test failure. The Beverly Brothers victorious over the New Foundation via disqualification. El Matador drew IRS. The Big Boss Man beat $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. And in the main event, WWF Intercontinental Champion Roddy Piper defeated WWF World Champion Nature Boy Ric Flair via countout. If you were in Winnipeg live, share your memories in the comments section below. Use the links in the description box to keep wrestling legends working in our eBay store and on our acclaimed Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston wrestling sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021. All right, wrestling fans, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that little trip down memory lane, and we hope you certainly take advantage of the great services we offer over on Patreon at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. I think that little commercial with the plethora of superstars from every era of professional wrestling speaks for itself. But now we move on to AEW Dynamite from Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. Believe it or not, the same date, January the 27th, 2021.
Dynamite opened up with Eddie Kingston defeating Lance Archer, a physical opening matchup, but nothing really great.
No.
Kingston did win with some help from a loaded fist and a distraction from the Butcher and the Blade. After the match, the group of men attacked Archer. Just again, another after. I know we always talk about it, but after every single match or segment with AEW, they have to have some type of run-in, some type of beat-up, some type of attack, some type of after-match angle. I don't think you can go to the back in AEW after a match. I think you always have to have some nonsense after the 1, 2, 3. But they attacked Archer. I'm kind of interested in Lance Archer as a face. He's kind of always been a heel in his career. I don't know if I'm a fan of it yet, but I want to see more of it to see what I think overall. But Eddie Kingston, he wins with some shenanigans. He needed the win after he's gotten beat for how many months in a row. But what did you think of the opening match on AEW?
Not much. You could see that something was being telegraphed when Archer sent Jake Roberts to the back. The match was nothing to write home about. Archer looks like a Major League Wrestling talent. Eddie Kingston, while he has verbal skills, does not wrestle like he belongs on national television, nor does he have the look of someone that looks like they belong on national television. You have the forgettable Butcher and the Blade dragging Jake Roberts out, who I always confuse with Dark Order members, drag out Jake to distract Archer for the Bunny to hop over to ringside to hand Kingston some kind of a foreign object to knock out Archer for the win. A feud I'm not sure too many folks are eager to see more of, but I imagine there will be more of it.
Chris Jericho and MJF defeated Varsity Blondes. Not much to this one. It was an okay tag team match. Chris Jericho hit that lion salt to end the match after some people were kind of making fun of him last week for botching his lion salt, and he gave a little smile to the camera for all the people that were taking jabs at him, which I believe we might be part of that group since we've been kind of taking jabs at Chris Jericho the past couple weeks. But what did you think of the Inner Circle's Chris Jericho and MJF getting the win?
Much like Retribution on Raw, I have no idea, storyline-wise, why AEW officials would allow 4 men to accompany 2 out to the ring for a tag team match. It makes no sense to me other than this need to try and get every human being physically possible TV time each week. I think Varsity Blondes, I think they have great potential, but they look green. They really seem to be pushing our buddy Gabe Griff Garrison hard in this one as if he's a future star. I think he's got great size. He's got the hair going for him, but he needs to beef up a little bit. He needs to be a little thicker. Brian Pillman took the 3 count on this one, and fine win for the Inner Circle if they want to continue to go the tag team route with Jericho and MJF before they officially split up down the road and have their little singles feud, which I think will be good for Jericho once the heel run runs its course, where his theme song is so beloved and he is such a beloved figure in the industry, I think it'll be good to have Jericho as a maybe a part-time top babyface in the company. One man's opinion, we'll see.
Next up on Dynamite, we saw Cody Rhodes and Arn Anderson cut a promo on Shaq, challenging him to a match. Cody was worried about his baby being born near their match on March 7th. Arn gave him a pep talk to fight a guy who has barely been in a wrestling ring. He made it seem like he was talking him up for Prime Hogan at MSG. Red Velvet came out to cut a promo and said she is coming for Jade Cargill. Looks like we're getting Jade Cargill and Shaq versus Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet on March 7th at Revolution. The segment kind of felt off to me, especially when they gave Arn the mic. Just a little bit of rambling and adding in the story about Dusty was cool, and then Cody crying. To me, it just kind of felt off. I would have saved that kind of emotion for something bigger than Shaq. I mean, I know they're trying to do the little crossover with the NBA thing and getting the viewers and the mainstream stuff, but to me, I don't know if you felt the same, but this segment kind of felt a little bit weird to me. I don't know. It didn't really have much emphasis on it. I don't know. But what did you think of Cody and Arn getting interviewed?
I thought the whole thing was ineffective. I think Shaq's promo was about as ineffective as it gets. I was surprised he even remembered Cody Rhodes' name because he didn't know the date, he didn't know the name of the event, he didn't know the location. The only thing that Shaq seemed to know is that something was going on in the month of March. I don't know how many people out there, whether they're wrestling fans, NBA fans, are interested in seeing 48-year-old Shaq mix it up with Cody Rhodes, who's in the prime of his career. Would it have been an interesting dynamic to have him work Big Show 10 years ago, or however long ago it was when that was on the table? Potentially for a few minutes. I thought the Battle Royal at WrestleMania 32 was a much more proper place where it was limited and it couldn't get ugly, where this has the potential to be all sorts of ugly, because beyond Cody and Shaq, you have to figure in these two green women in Red Velvet and Jade Cargill, who at the best, unproven. It is not a match that I am looking forward to. I don't think it is going to have NBA fans flocking to pay-per-view to open the wallet to spend $60 or however much that pay-per-view might be. I wouldn't recognize Red Velvet if she crossed the street to deliver a sub to Quincy here at MWF Studios. Never mind see her in a feature match on a $60 pay-per-view. So you have a very questionable match at best. And again, throwing in the two green women, I think it makes it even worse.
Hangman Adam Page defeated Ryan Nemeth. Nemeth is the brother of Dolph Ziggler, actually. This is a quick enhancement match. Not that much to it. They gave Ryan a little bit of offense in it, but then Page came right back. After the match, Matt Hardy tried to recruit Page to his group with Private Party. I don't know why everybody in AEW is all gung-ho about making groups and recruiting people to it. There's way too many groups, and there's way too many storylines right now of, hey, you want to join my group? You want to join my group? Hey, if you beat me, you can join my group. You know, if you lose this, you know, you can join us. It's like, I don't know why everybody needs to be in a group or a tag team or have tons of buddies or have people standing at ringside for them or walking them out to the ring. It's just, it's too much, and that's why you always see on Dynamite every single week, a million tag team matches and a million 6-man tag, 8-man tag. There's nothing wrong with tag team wrestling, you know, but when you look at AEW, it's over half of their matches weekly or involve more than 2 people on each side. So, I mean, it gets a little boring to me. But what did you think of Page and Nemeth?
Well, I certainly was underwhelmed with Ryan Nemeth. I think Dolph got a little bit more of the wrestling genes in the family, so to speak. His selling was not so much. We had big money, Matt Hardy coming out to scout. I guess he is not broken or woken anymore now. He's just big money, trying to be a talent agent of some kinds. Or he signed the Private Party to a contract that isn't very lucrative for them as far as the percentage that he's trying to take. Big Money was impressed with the win, though. Big Money seems to be after Adam Page right now. as if this is the last thing they try and need to do right now to get Adam Page over. I mean, I guess it's one step up from being involved with the Dark Order, but I don't know if big money Matt Hardy is the solution to turn Adam Page into the top-tier player that I think he could be in AEW. And Tony Schiavone, of course, after the match, he had to dash to the ring with his Ann Miller-like winter vest to try and get to the bottom of it.
He's earning his paycheck weekly. He's been in the ring almost 2 or 3 times every week.
Yeah, he's getting his exercise, if nothing else.
And he has severe knee pain too. So I don't know what they're trying to do with him. I don't know if he's trying to get back in the ring and work a little bit, but we'll find out. Jungle Boy defeated Dax Harwood. Good match between these two. After the match, FTR and Tully Blanchard attacked Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Tully, of course, got his spot in. Marco Stunt, Top Flight, and SCU all came out to rescue Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Again, I don't know why it takes 5 or 6 men to save 2 against 2 other men. Especially Marco Stunt coming out with, I believe, the gold chair. I don't know. Every time, as I said before, even this next match, the women's match, there was a run-in too. And even the main event, it's just, I don't know why every single match needs someone running out to save someone or join in the fight or attack someone. I don't know what you get out of that. It's just a cheap way to set up future matches between the two, and it just all makes no sense at all.
Whoever put it together was a big fan of the Attitude Era.
What did you think of Jungle Boy and Dax Harwood? I thought it was a solid match.
I tell you, the pre-match promo, I mean, the Jungle Boy, he had about as much personality as a rice cake, even though he was trying to be somewhat serious getting ready for this matchup. His prehistoric dinosaur partner in the borderline dwarf came out with him. Marco went to the back while Luchasaurus was handcuffed to both Tully and Cash. Jungle Boy made Dax the axe tap. I was a little surprised by that. I think there's upside to Jungle Boy, but a lot like the much larger Gabe Griff Garrison, Jungle Boy needs to be thicker. He's too thin to be taken seriously, whether he comes from the jungle or not. He needs to find more fruit. I don't know. I don't know what there is in the jungle for Jungle Boy to eat. Somehow during this match, Tony Schiavone tried to compare Darby Allin to Jack Briscoe as far as the size of what a world champion would be. Even though Jack Briscoe was 6 feet tall, he looked like a man, a tough man, and was an NCAA wrestling champion as opposed to someone that looked like a middle school child dressing up as Sting for Halloween. How that even came into the context of the match, I don't know, but it was in my notes. I actually thought the match was pretty good. I thought it was a good opponent for Jungle Boy. After the match, Tully Blanchard had that dastardly powder waiting in his pocket to throw in Luchasaurus's eyes, leading to the 3-on-1 on Jungle Boy. And even though Luchasaurus was blind and couldn't see, his dinosaur-like powers guided him into the ring to take the spike pile driver. And then, not only that, if that couldn't keep him down, they handcuffed Luchasaurus to the ropes and started to cut off his prehistoric match. I tell you, if this wasn't an angle with a man that was involving a guy that's dressed up as a dinosaur, I thought this actually would have been a pretty good angle. And then, as you noted, Marco and the rest ran out to try and save the day for what was just a completely overbooked segment.
You could say that about almost every segment, not even just last night, but every night for AEW. Next up, Britt Baker defeated Shana, however you want to pronounce it.
Oh, well, I had it as Alana in my notes, so I guess you paid better attention than I did.
It wasn't too bad of a women's match, but
yeah.
After the match, of course, Britt Baker attacked the woman she faced, I'll just say. But she was saved by Thunder Rosa, of course. I don't know how many times they can keep doing this Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker thing. I believe they face each other next week, but
it's going to be a big one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll be too bad, but I mean, it's just how many times can you have 2 women attack each other and do run-ins with each other before having a match? I mean, you've seen it for almost 3 months now with these 2 women, and now they're finally going to have a match, and I guarantee you it won't be the only match they have with each other. But yet another run-in after a match, but Britt Baker gets the win. What did you think of the Britt W?
At least it wasn't terribly long.
That's it.
That's about it.
That's in the main event of Dynamite. We saw the AEW Tag Team Champions, the Young Bucks, and the Impact Tag Team Champions, the Good Brothers, defeat the Dark Order in an 8-man tag team match. Thought it was an okay main event. It wasn't that great. As I said, they have way too many tag team matches, especially when they do these 8-man extravaganzas. They're usually overbooked with a bunch of people in the ring at once, all the spots involved and everything like that. People waiting to get jumped on, people waiting for moves to get hit, and it just doesn't look that good. After the match, Jon Moxley and Rey Fenix attacked the Bullet Club. AEW champion Kenny Omega came out to help his friends, but was taken out by Moxley. Yet again, another post-match brawl, and then especially to end the night, I wasn't too happy with it. But again, on this entire show, almost every single segment had a run-in or an attack, and I think it's one of the main issues they're having right now. And AEW is just cheap ways to get matches in the future and to extend feuds and things like that. It's almost like the writers don't know how to get from one spot to the next. It's just, how are we going to extend this feud? All right, just run them out there and have them, save them, or have them, just punch them or distract them. It's a cheap way to do it. And I think that's one of the many downfalls of them right now. But it also, as we always talk about, is a learning curve, because they've only been around for, it's 2 years now, I think, right? Yeah, 2 years.
To me, I consider the official kickoff once they started with a weekly TV show. They had a couple of pay-per-views and a couple of specials. But as far as that grunty week-to-week work where you're under the gun, that began in October of 2019. So you're pushing a year and a half right now. And honestly, while you can say that, and I've said it many times to try and defend them and try and be fair and that there is that learning curve, there are many things that are done that could be improved upon at this point, a year and a half in. One man's opinion. I continue to hope that these things do improve because there are a lot of things about the show you can like. It's just, unfortunately, there's a lot of things about the show that you can dislike.
As we move into our grades now of AEW from last night.
I didn't even get to bury the main event. I mean, that's very unfair.
Well, you stopped.
My feelings are hurt. No, I think at this point the Dark Order should be abandoned completely. They're boring, they're uninteresting, they're uncreative, they sucked completely before Brody Lee got involved with them. Now it's even worse as the fans really don't know how to react to them after the real-life passing of Brody Lee. They add nothing. They're not very good. I don't understand why they keep throwing them out there. I believe I read online that Brody's son was involved in the Dark program again, which I think is a bit much, but there's just nothing about the Dark Order I want to see in a professional wrestling presentation. Then, just as the confusion seems to come to an end, Rey Fenix runs out by himself and attacks everybody, as if that was going to go any place fast. Then he was joined by Jon Moxley a few seconds later. Kenny Omega came out to make it 5-on-2, but yet the baby faces, even without Pac, came away standing tall to set up Beach Break 6 nights away.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where Penta was. I don't know where Pac was. So, I mean, it really didn't make sense to have 2 guys run in and basically
on 5, five top guys.
Yeah, and clear everybody out. It makes it, I mean, I don't really get the thinking behind that, but I don't really get the thinking behind most stuff going on Wednesday nights for AEW, but it just doesn't really make sense to me, and my grade was heavily affected. It's not even the matches themselves, it's just everything that happened after it, and I always talk about, you might have a good match, but sometimes the after-match nonsense is really what you kind of fall back on and what you set up for the future. If you do want to see more, sometimes setting up those feuds for the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, month, that's what gets people going back and what makes it watchable at the end of the day. But my AEW grade for last night, it was a 4 out of 10. I know I could have went up to 5, but I just think all the aftermatch stuff that was happening, it just kind of made the night kind of drag on more. But I was between a 4 and a 5, but I said, you know what? They want to have someone run out for every single segment. I'll go down to a 4.
Well, it is awfully strange that we are yet tied again. I gave it 4 out of 10. I thought it was one of the weaker AEW shows. For everything in there that was good, there was more negatives. One thing, I don't know why, Socko, but you always forget a lot of sometimes the interesting skits and interviews that go on behind the scenes. I don't know if it's because you don't want to drag the review out too long, but there was some...
There's just not much to say on it. So-and-so was interviewed. He said this. There's just not much to break down.
Well, like you had the Sting and the Darby Allin one in the warehouse last night. I thought that was kind of interesting.
The warehouse was on Strong.
Whatever it was supposed to be. I don't know. Was it a warehouse? Or...
It looked like it.
You had the big build-up montage for the beach break wedding with the most uninteresting, underdeveloped couple in wrestling history tying the knot that I imagine Orange Cassidy is going to disrupt it or prevent from happening next week. So there were a couple of little in-between match happenings that were notable, none of which were all that great. It's not like I'm trying to say you missed something really important or something that was must-see, but sometimes those things tie in to the rest of the show, and sometimes it highlights, again, their effort to try and get every human being humanly possible on that show somehow. But I don't expect much from the wedding. So I gave an AEW a 4 out of 10 overall.
We keep tying on these shows. I don't know what's going on.
We're becoming two of a kind at this point. We'll have to see what Glantz thinks.
If he shows up, I mean, I know you said he might return.
Well, we've been having a lot of talks with Glantz behind the scenes. He had nothing to do with this situation that has me hot under the collar this afternoon, but it is always interesting to see Glantz. Glantz, you know what? Usually when someone plays the vanishing routine, I have a lot of anger and hatred towards them, but Glantz is a man that contributed some great ideas over the summer that have only helped us and have only helped the fans' enjoyment. So it's hard to be mad at someone that does that. The question is, Prodigy, the fans continue to ask, where have you been during the live premieres? You've been missing.
Like tonight, Gonzaga plays at 9 o'clock.
You can't do both.
No, because the thing is, Gonzaga sometimes doesn't play on TV. Yeah. They play on a streaming service on my laptop.
So you need the computer.
Yeah, they play on Stadium.com. So
that's one of my favorite websites. I was unfamiliar with that.
They're actually pretty good.
Well, I'm sure they are if they have Gonzaga on it. But we've been missing the links being shared, kid. Heartbreaking. Our good friend the Colonel out of New York set us up with this system for success, and it has not been the success we thought. Plus, what about the Royal Rumble watch-along with HBK? There's going to be no Prodigy, apparently.
Well, there's going to be a piece there.
Why will you not be here with HBK? I think HBK was a little insulted.
I highly doubt he was insulted.
Well, he said he wanted to make a piece after your real do. So maybe he wanted to mold it or like scan it like they do the action figureheads. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I do have nice hair. I mean, if he wants to scan it.
Why won't you be joining us for the watch along?
I will be at my friend's house who's having a little thing for the Rumble.
And that's bigger than HBK.
Well, I don't want to steal his sunshine on Sunday night.
And then on top of that, when we announced that our good friend from down in Georgia would be returning, you said you won't be coming up for that either. So we didn't know if we were getting ready for a retirement tour or what.
No, it's not the tour of the Shield that they had in 2019, but.
Well, I tell you, you have someone whose feelings are hurt down in Georgia.
He actually called me the other night.
Oh, that's probably why, when I told him you weren't going to be there. And what did you tell him?
He didn't ask me about it. He was talking about... something about...
Oh, that makes it even better, to be honest, but...
He was talking about something about me having a girlfriend or something like that, asking if I have any girls or something. I don't know.
Really? Well, so we're not going to see you for the big weekend when Marty Jannetty returns.
the huge weekend.
I mean, is there something with Gonzaga that weekend?
No. Well, they'll be winding down their season, but
what do we got going on that we're going to miss the Prodigy yet again?
we'll have to indulge at that later date.
We'll have to talk about it later then. I guess he doesn't want to talk about it on the air, folks. I know many of our friends, they were impressed that you were given the little wrench emoji during the premieres, where you had the authority to dismantle individuals. And then as soon as you got the torch, so to speak, the baton was passed with this blue wrench during the premiere, you were gone. But I guess there's too much Gonzaga going on right now.
Gonzaga and the Kings are actually doing really good. So
Well,
I don't know why.
Christ, I didn't know that was happening too, or I would have understood.
I don't know why the Kings are doing so good. It's kind of perturbing to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I thought maybe it had something to do with the land party, but apparently not.
Oh, it's taken up all my time, I'll tell you that.
All right.
Land party.
This land party. Well, you know what? The good thing is he's having a second one in February, so even if you miss Marty's weekend, you can come up for that.
I'll put it on my calendar.
Yeah, all 28 days. All right, wrestling fans, we're running out of time. Don't forget, at 10 o'clock, you get a movie-length episode of Party with Marty Jannetty, where he talks about a wide variety of topics, from J.J. Dillon jumping from the NWA to the WWF as an on-air manager to office personnel. He talks about a physical confrontation with her promoter in Austria that led to the police having to flee Marty from the country. He talks about being injured by a coked-up WCW superstar, Jane Fonda getting a little physical in WCW. He finally gets back on track with WWF 1989. He talks about a Haku bar fight. He talks about an enhancement talents issue with the Barbarian and so much more. Grab a beverage, grab a snack, kick back, relax. Don't forget the Super Chat button is open for business, folks. Tip the bartender for all the great enjoyment we give you so we can bring you more great wrestling superstars. And, of course, for early ad-free access to everything we do, it's patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. For my partner in crime, the prodigy himself, Matt Degnan, we hope him, his socks, and his shoes will be back here in Boston soon. I'm Dan Mirade. We'll see you at the top of the hour, 10 o'clock, when we party with Marty. Good night.
The Royal Rumble is the second biggest event of 2021, and it's going to be even bigger. During our Wrestling Insider pay-per-view watch-along is the former Raw main eventer himself. John Cena Sr. will be in studio live during the big event. We'll watch the Royal Rumble, take some questions, sign some autographs, and make this year's Royal Rumble as interactive as it can be without you being there in person. Get ready for John Cena Sr. live during the Royal Rumble, January 31st.